6.2 is on multiplying and dividing rational expressions. So multiplication, you multiply across the tops for your fractions and then across the bottom. For division, you'll just multiply by a reciprocal. We'll see that later. You do need to think about restrictions. So what would make this polynomial 0 won't make that polynomial 0. And then also we want to simplify our final answers. So we do that by canceling common factors. Again, restrictions are what makes the denominator 0. So here we have an example. We couldn't have m be 0 or x be 0. I can simplify my fraction here and here. Cross-canceling, I can combine my x is by saying that there's 4 more x's on top. You know, it's 5 minus 1 is 4. Here it's 3 minus 5 is -2. Then you bring it down to make it +2. Or you can say to yourself, where are there more m's? The bottom, how many more? 2 more. And so that's really, this is more of a rules of exponents problem, but it is technically multiplying polynomials. It's just monomials, and it's more rules of exponents that it appears to be applying. Here, this is more clearly a multiplication of polynomials. Factor, you might have to take out a GCF, the greatest common factor, and then factor further. Here, this factors using, again, the A times the C, and then grouping. Here's the work for that. And then you're multiplying, and you multiply across the top, so you can just put times and then the other top, which is a difference of squares. And then here, factoring out the GCF of 2, and then the difference of squares. So there's the 2, and then there's the difference of squares. I highlighted in green the denominators that involve m, because that's where the restrictions come from. So that's what the green highlighting is about. So I cross-canceled that this goes in one time, this goes into this one time, this goes into this one time, because it's m minus 3 over m minus 3, that is 1. Similarly here, that's 1, and that's 1. And then the 2's also are 1. So we can factor and then cancel common factors, and you look at all the factors of the denominator for your restrictions. If all the factors in your numerator cancel out, then it's just a 1. So again, more factoring. This one had a GCF of 3x, and then also had a difference of cubes. So here's that difference of cubes formula, so that's where this comes from. Difference of squares, common factor of x, a regular factoring when the a is 1. Again, can't be 0, can't be -6, can't be 6, can't be 2 for the restrictions. I canceled out 1 for 1, things that are common in the numerator and denominator. There was nothing left in the denominator other than a 1. Dividing by 1, you don't need to show divide by 1 because it's just itself. So there's your numerator. You could, of course, write it in standard form by distributing the 3 to each of these terms. Or you can leave it in factor form. For division, you can multiply by the reciprocal. The only additional thing to be careful of with the division is that your denominator, when you take the reciprocal of your second fraction, becomes your numerator. So because it was a denominator and now it's a numerator, you have to look in the numerator position. And here, the numerator really is, it's being divided. If this numerator is 0, 0 divided by anything, you'd be dividing by 0. And so you have to look in all 3 of these locations, B, C, and D, for your restrictions. So again, I've highlighted where the restrictions are that I'm looking at. Factor, traditional, what multiplies to -15 adds to 2. Difference of squares, factoring out a common factor. I put this on the numerator. You can write it first as a multiplication by the reciprocal of the second fraction, as I did here, or you can just factor it and flip it at the same time. So I multiplied and put the denominator's factorization on the numerator position, and the numerator would be in the denominator. Cancel out common factors, 1 for 1. And restrictions are any of these 3 locations when your original problem was division. So here's another one, factor, traditional factoring with 3 terms, a being 1. Here's a common factor of 3. Here's another traditional one, just watch your sides, another traditional one. Cancel 1 for 1, any common factors in the numerator and denominator. Look in all 3 of these places for any restrictions. You don't need to mention restrictions twice, you just need to say it once. So that is 6.2.